Kaya. Kaya Kwaba Kiji Janang Nunda Mangamang Yuranga Wadandi Buja. Hello, good to see you together on Wadandi country. Nalak Kadich Wadandi Nyunga Jali, the traditional owner Wadandi Buja. We acknowledge the Wadandi people, the country traditional owners, and Wadandi Buja, and pay our respects to elders past and present. Item 2 is attendance. We have apologies, a late apology from Councillor Earl, who could not attend today, and we have approved leave from Councillor Nikki Jones and Councillor Kylie Keno. Item 3 is disclosures of interest, and I have not received any. Item 4 is public question time. Are there any questions from members of the public for council? Nope. Okay then. We now move into item 5, deputations. And I have 4 approved deputations, and we will start with Mark Murray. If you could please state your name and address prior to commencing. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mark Murray, residence is 57 Gardner Road, Corrimup, and also owner of 6 Ewing Street, Augusta. Just briefly, you've heard my deputation the previous week for those councillors that were here, and I sent it through. So it's just briefly, my wife and I do trust that you consider the zoning change, because of course it is a zoning change, which is a significant thing. Consider the zoning change from town centre to residential R60 for lot 50, for our lot 56 Ewing Street, Augusta. R60 allows for the property scope we need in the zoning change, and the Shire want to do this zoning change in the LPS too, so we are saying that we are seeking R60, please. We consider it's more than appropriate and can see no reason why this would harm other neighbours or affect the AMR Shire's overall decision. We ask that you adjust 37 in the schedule of modifications regarding the zoning change from town centre to residential R60. Just to clarify, the property sits immediately below the bottle shop in Augusta, touching the rear lane, Little Blackwood Lane. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I'll just acknowledge that Councillor Earl has joined us online, so he is on Zoom. Councillor Binks, did you wish to ask the deputy a question?
Yes, if that's all right.
Mr. Murray, would you mind coming back up to the... Thank you.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I just noticed that Shire staff have commented that that a density of R40 will allow you to achieve your intended form of development. You're asking for R60. Do you agree that R40 will help you to achieve what you need to achieve?
It doesn't. It's a shame that R40 wasn't part of the original letter that we received in 2023. Otherwise, we could have sped up the discussions. R60 helps us achieve it, or does achieve it. R80 would have been more appropriate, given the fact that it actually is town centre now. And we respect the fact that it does have residential use, and the Ewing Street frontage is definitely a residential street, but it does touch that rear lane. R60 is what we are asking. It's appropriate, it's fair, and there are comparisons which I put in the deputation. I think I put it in the letters to Matt and Matt, the planning officers as well, in Larening Lane and Hall Road in Corrimup, which Hall Road in Corrimup, the whole street was upgraded to town centre zoning by way of 2 people that were seeking that upgrade, and they did the whole street so that they could achieve a subdivision of blocks that faced the rear lane, which are R60. Many of you might be familiar with them because you've seen them being sold off now, fronting that Larening Lane, and they had to go through this process. Well, this property is already at town centre zoning, and this would help achieve it and wouldn't hinder, R40 would hinder the number of lots, a number of uses that the site could achieve. And it's not affected, well, it's actually in alignment with the Augusta strategy. So there's other examples, but I won't make finer point of them in Townview Terrace, Elva Street and Margaret River. So, yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
No. Okay, thank you, Mr. Murray. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll now call upon Mr. Dane Gaunt, please, if you would like to give your deputation. Name and address. Thanks, Dane.
Thank you. Dane Gaunt, and the address is 35A Hillier Drive in Margaret River. Thank you, councillors and staff, for the opportunity to speak today. As many of you know, I'm a local town planning consultant working for a private firm. However, today I'm here to express my own thoughts on the draft LPS2 rather than those of my employer or a particular client. I'm born and raised in Margaret River. I have a deep connection to the community and a professional commitment to the area as well. I've had 17 years in town planning across local, state, government, as well as the private sector. And that includes 3 years working for the current and the former Minister for Planning. So I understand what it takes to create an effective local planning scheme. And in fact, part of my role with the Planning Minister was to provide advice and review local planning schemes. So I've seen quite a fair share of them across a very diverse geographical area. Developing a local planning scheme is the most complex task any town planner can complete. They're complex from a legal standpoint, complex from a planning principles standpoint, and quite complex from a community engagement standpoint. Our planners must balance various, sometimes and often competing objectives and communicate those objectives to a broad community with different levels of understanding of the legislative requirements. So firstly, I want to express my gratitude as a ratepayer for the work that they've put into this draft scheme, and whether or not you agree with all parts of it, I can tell you without any shadow of a doubt that the planning team deeply care about the local area, and that's evident from their work and commitment to this planning scheme. The draft local planning scheme 2 is a significant achievement. It reflects the unique identity of this shire, its diverse economy, vibrant community and remarkable environment. It incorporates critical updates and step changes that respond to the challenges we face today and prepare us for those to come. I can tell you from my experience that this draft scheme encapsulates and responds to the unique environmental, social and economic conditions of our home better than any other scheme I've seen. And that's a serious statement. There's a big agenda for standardisation across the state, and it's actually quite difficult to get a local planning framework that truly reflects the local area. And you can see that most evident in the metropolitan Perth, where just about every scheme is a carbon copy. However, I understand and acknowledge that there are many in the community who remain unhappy with the draft scheme and various different provisions and zonings that's within it. The concerns are valid. No scheme, no matter how carefully crafted, can address every issue or meet every individual expectation. Planning by its nature requires balancing competing priorities, and it's impossible to produce a scheme that satisfies everyone. That said, we must not let the perfect be the enemy of good. This is a good scheme, one that has been thoughtfully developed to reflect the local context and address the most pressing needs of our shire. It strikes a pragmatic balance between growth and conservation, between structure and flexibility. Importantly, it's a significant improvement on the status quo. Every delay of the scheme from here on in prolongs reliance on an outdated framework that is ill-equipped to guide the Shire's future. This scheme may not resolve every issue, but is a crucial step forward, a foundation for continued improvement. Postponing its adoption would be a missed opportunity to better manage the growth and sustainability of the community. Councillors, leadership is not about avoiding dissatisfaction, but about making decisions that will serve the greater good. The draft LPS2 embodies years of work, consultation and refinement. It deserves your endorsement, not as the final word, but as the beginning of a better future for the Shire. I urge you to support this scheme and move forward with its adoption. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaunt, and thank you for acknowledging the enormous amount of work that's gone into the preparation of this item for Council to consider today. Thanks very much. Questions of Mr. Gaunt? No. Okay, we'll now move into our next deputy, which is Ms. Canella Hope. Ms. Hope, if you could please come forward. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm Canella Hope and I'm a planning consultant from Planned Focus, and I'm here representing the Witchcliffe Eco Village. I'm also here this afternoon with Michelle Sheridan, who's the General Manager of the Eco Village. As I'm sure you're all aware, the Eco Village is a significant and highly regarded, as well as a nationally awarded and, if not internationally recognised, residential development. This includes Project of the Year earlier this year, recognition from the Urban Development Institute of Australia. I'm told the project has injected around $60+ million into the local economy, and it continues to lead the way on several, if not many, fronts, including in terms of land sales locally. The Eco Village went through a very long process to have its structure plan approved, and this was exhaustive because the Eco Village deliberately embraces quite different development and quite different ongoing operational practices. And that's different to typical residential development. This aspiration and now delivery on the ground of a new community that embraces self-sufficiency in terms of renewable energy, water, construction methods, and fresh food produce. It's quite different and standalone. This project has continued to fulfil all of the commitments that it made, and that's against the backdrop of inflation and rising construction costs that we're all very well aware of. This difference does mean quite an obligation to ensure that the new planning scheme is strongly linked with and continues to implement this vision and the approved structure plan. The new planning scheme has quite an important role alongside the unique strata, covenant, design guidelines, and all the other buy commitments made when you choose to live in the Eco Village. The report to Council on the new scheme, it touches on, but in our view, it does not adequately capture these site-specific uniqueness, and we hope councillors will rectify that in today's decision. The Eco Village is not requesting anything outside of the norm or outside of the approved structure plan, and the matters that we've raised in our submission are only relevant to the Eco Village. Unfortunately, at this final moment in what's been a long-running Shire process, there's not really any time to navigate and, for example, wordsmith and land on exact wording on some of this detail. But there is ability, with endorsement and clear direction from the Council today, to achieve this refinement in the next step when the scheme moves to the state government and the WAPC, which of course the Shire remains involved in as well. Basically, we're seeking a Shire Council mandate that recognises these unique and very site-specific nature of the Eco Village as the new scheme moves forward. In this regard, I hope councillors that you'll adopt submission number 730 from the Witchcliffe Eco Village and adopt it in full. In doing this, I also hope that you'll highlight and endorse the overall Eco Village project and duly implement the structure plan into the new scheme. The Eco Village continues to consider this as very important to do, and this is because of these standalone operational and development provisions that apply there. They want to preserve their full and desired vision, and to do that long past the initial step of subdivision of the land. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Ms Hope. Are there any questions from councillors for Ms Hope? No? Okay, we will move on to our last deputy, Mr Jamie Sparks Hollow. If you wouldn't mind coming to the stand, please.
Please. Okay, number 27 Bobo Avenue, Jamie Sparks Hollows. I'm just representing 5 other landowners. We put in an application in 2020 about the rezoning. We're at 7 of 30 lots just on Beauvale there. The lots behind us, they're all R20, we're the R15. And basically it was just to get ours to just be in line with those other blocks. They're all pretty much the same size. It was just something that I picked up on, so I just sort of running with it really. There has been sort of confirmation or just chatting with Matt about the whole process, and obviously everybody being busy with work and lives, we don't have the opportunity to follow up with our paperwork and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, on my sort of side, I could have been a bit more proactive, but that's kind of how things work out. So basically we're just hoping to get it reviewed by you guys, why it sort of got left out of the LPS2 process, and if it could be re-looked at and revisited before it gets sort of sent away to the WAPC. Basically, that's it really. Yeah, it all seemed pretty simple to me, but I sort of felt a little bit blindsided by the whole sort of everyone being busy, I guess, you know. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've got details of that submission, and thank you for coming to speak to us. Are there any questions of any of the councillors? Councillor Boland.
Yes, thank you for coming along. Can I just clarify, you said there was an application in 2020.
Yeah,
what did that comprise?
What's that, sorry?
What did that comprise, that application?
It was basically a petition that I put together because I was going through a building development, and that's when I noticed the 15 and the 20. The 7 lots that are different to the other ones, so I just went and spoke to all the other neighbours and put together a petition and brought them to Matt and just did any other necessary paperwork yeah, that was it really. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for
It was a while ago now, so.
Mr Hollow? No? Okay, thank you so much for your deputation.
All right,
thanks.
cheers, mate. Thank you.
Ta. Okay, councillors, I've got a procedural motion to that standing order 4.3 be suspended to bring forward item 7.1. Sorry, councillors, I've just got that wrong in my order of business. So we will actually, so we'll move on to 6, the special business, which is why we called this meeting in the first place. So 6.1, the local planning scheme 2. So before we commence that, I'm going to allow our manager for planning, Mr Cuthbert, to address the public and council. He has a few words to say in regards to this special business. Thank you, Mr Cuthbert.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Matt Cuthbert. I'm the Manager of Planning and Development Services here at the Shire, which means that I'm responsible for the review of Local Planning Scheme number 2, which Council will consider here tonight. At our recent public presentation session, which allowed residents to come and speak directly to Council about their suggestions for improvement to LPS 2, some significant statements were made regarding the way in which the Shire's planning framework ought to be dealing with the issue of bushfire, which I'd like to respond to. I want to make it clear that my response does not reflect Council's views and has not been endorsed by them. They'll get a chance to make their own decision on the scheme later tonight. These views are my own professional opinion, which I have and will continue to base my advice to Council on. The request that is being made of Council by some individuals and groups in the community, such as the Margaret River Coastal Residents Association and Preserve Narrabri, is that there should be a special control area applied to areas of extreme bushfire risk in the Shire, and that those areas should be limited in how they can be developed. With one suggestion, if I'm understanding it correctly, being that tourism development should be prohibited. Now, there are some issues and limitations with that approach, which is why I'm not recommending that Council progresses with that option at this time. But before I outline what those issues are, I just want to confirm for you all that the absence of a special control area says nothing about the Shire's commitment to protecting its residents from the threat of bushfire. That is something we take very seriously, and I know that the people within our organisation who are more specifically involved in that pursuit and the volunteers who also dedicate themselves to that cause would be particularly concerned if I was to suggest otherwise. So why wouldn't we recommend that the draft scheme be changed at this point to include a special control area? Well, in answer to that, I would like you to consider the following. The first and foremost reason is that to do so at this juncture would not allow any consultation with affected residents. Remember, this device would remove development potential from land, and to do so without a significant amount of consultation, which has been a key principle of the local planning scheme review process, would in my view be unacceptable. This is particularly problematic where a special control area seeks to override the purpose that land is zoned for in a manner that would limit or in some cases entirely sterilise the use of a significant number of landowners' properties without any discussion with them. It's been suggested that the results of consultation ought not to make any difference in any event. I disagree. The Shire's objective always is to consult on matters impacting our community and to do so genuinely, just as we have in relation to LPS 2, which is what finds us here today. Further to this, and even in the event that Council did proceed on this basis with the special control area, it is extremely unlikely that the state government and the minister responsible for planning in this state would knowingly support such a significant and impactful change without allowing for public consultation. And of course, the minister's support would be necessary if the change was to be implemented. A lot has been said about State Planning Policy 3.7 and its recommendation that local governments utilise special control areas. In fact, recommendations to this effect have been removed from the latest version of SPP 3.7, which came into effect on the 18th of this month. It was a change we were expecting because the DPLH, Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, had informed us that the previous guidelines did not reflect their current position. The lack of a reference in SPP 3.7 to special control areas does not prevent the Council from using them. However, if they were used only to satisfy that perceived requirement by the Planning Commission, then it would be a mistake. So, if we were going to introduce a special control area, what would we base it on? How would we work out what areas of the Shire do in fact have the highest risk of bushfire? It's been suggested that we use the Shire's Bushfire Risk Management Plan, or BRMP. This is not a planning document and is administered by our emergency services team. They advise us that it is not suitable for use in this circumstance. This view is supported by DFES and the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage in written communications that they have had with us on that topic. The list of extreme rated assets in the Shire under the BRMP is significant, and so the impacts, intended or otherwise, of a broad brush restriction on the development of these areas would also be significant and wide-reaching, in many cases sterilising land from any future use. Another alternative for defining a future special control area would be to undertake a broad hazard assessment of the Shire. This is primarily the domain of accredited bushfire practitioners, which the Shire would need to engage. This would be at great cost to ratepayers who might well ask, why is this work not being undertaken and paid for by developers who are applying to do something? This user pays approach is the way that the bushfire framework is intended to work, and the relevant policy considerations under SPP 3.7 apply to development in the Shire with or without a special control area. If we could push past that immediate challenge in determining the extent of the special control area, we would then need to decide what land uses to exclude, to, in the submitter's words, make the Shire more safe. One such submission suggested disallowing holiday homes in extreme risk areas. This is an interesting one because the state government has very recently changed the bushfire framework to specifically exclude holiday homes from consideration under the bushfire guidelines and SPP 3.7. In other words, those policies no longer apply to holiday homes. This demonstrates that the state government hold the opposite view to the submitters in that they want to increase, not decrease, the permissibility of holiday homes. Why is this important? Because the state government approved the planning scheme. Even without a special control area, most development needs to comply with bushfire policies and guidelines prepared by the state government. A recent addition to the guidelines is a requirement that developers undertake an assessment of broader bushfire context outside of a specific development site. This appears to be a positive change and goes some way to addressing the concerns that have been raised with us. However, even here there is a contradiction in the fact that tourism development is specifically excluded from the need to undertake that assessment. A final point to note is a reference in some submissions that bushfire isn't dealt with in any way by the planning scheme. It is in fact already part of the current and future planning schemes by being built into what are known as the deemed provisions, a piece of legislation that automatically forms part of the scheme and doesn't need to be, and in fact can't be, repeated in LPS 2. In closing, I want to say that my message is that we have heard the concerns and are prepared always to continually improve our bushfire resilience, whether that be in the planning department or, I dare say, right across the organisation. As I hope I've illustrated to you, that does not extend to the introduction of a special control area at this time, and certainly not before extensive consultation has been undertaken with the community and with key government stakeholders who would need to support such an initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Cuthbert, for that introduction to the local planning scheme, in particular the issue of bushfire. Councillors, I wish to move a procedural motion that we suspend Standing Order 4.3 to bring forward item 7.1. So I'll need to put that to the vote. Do I have a seconder for that procedural motion? Councillor Muir, and we'll need to vote on that. All those in favour? Councillor Earl, thank you. That's 6 carried unanimously. Thank you. So now, so we have, I'll just introduce this. So item 7 is motions for consideration at the next meeting. So we have 7.1. Councillor Muir, do you wish to just tell us what this motion is, please?
Yes, please. I'd like to put forward a motion for the investigation of planning options to improve bushfire safety in our Shire. And the motion will read that Council requests the CEO undertake an investigation of special control areas that could be utilised to improve bushfire safety, including consideration of social, economic and environmental costs and benefits, and report the findings back to Council by the end of June 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Okay, I'll move a procedural motion to reinstate the standing orders. So I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Muir. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we now go back to item 6.1, local planning scheme number 2. So do I have a councillor? So we have I'll just introduce actually the officer's recommendation, councillors, so that council, in accordance with regulation 25 in brackets 3 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regs 2015, resolves to support the proposed Augusta Margaret River Shire Local Planning Scheme 2 with proposed modifications to address issues raised in the submissions as outlined at attachment 3. So I'm happy to move that motion, councillors. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Muir. Okay. So, councillors, are there any, to address some submissions or to address the scheme directly, are there any amendments that you wish to propose? Councillor Boland.
Thank you, President. Just a minor amendment to the recommendation, which I'd like to move, is that after the words attachment 3 at the end of the recommendation, I would like to add the words schedule of
Yep,
modifications.
it's there on the screen. So that yep, that's fine. That doesn't need to be voted on. That's a minor administrative correction which has been tied into that officer recommendation. So, so councillors are. Sorry. Oh yeah, I didn't because it wasn't on my piece of paper. Thank you, Councillor Boland. Good correction. Okay. So, councillors, are there any? Councillor Muir. Yes.
Thank you, Shire President. I would like to put forward Amendment 1.
Sorry, President. Just
Yes.
point of order. I think
Yes.
that the mover is supposed to speak to the motion prior to anything else, anybody else speaking, etc., etc.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Binks. Okay, councillors. Thank you for that reminder. So, councillors, I'm really happy to move the officer's recommendation as I just read out with your addition. Thank you, Councillor Boland. This has been an exercise, as we've heard from one of our deputies, reminding everyone that it's from Mr Gaunt. This has been a 6-year process. We've been through such extensive community consultation. I'm really pleased with the final result. There have, of course, council will make our decision and that will go to the WAPC, and let's hope that the WAPC seriously considers and respects the uniqueness of our Shire, as we have clearly articulated through our updated, more progressive local planning scheme too. And just actually to reiterate Mr Gaunt's comments around a blanket approach that has been conducted in metro councils, that really does not suit us, and I hope that the state listens and respects our uniqueness and our protects what we identify as really special in our Shire. So it's certainly it's going to provide for a better future for our community and our residents. I'm really pleased to be a part of this council. As we know, it's a long time. So let's hope that we can keep moving through this process. Of course, we will not be pleasing everybody in moving this. I understand we have some amendments that we're going to test in regards to this local planning scheme. But we, as decision makers for our community, for now and into the future, our priority really is for the greater good and addressing all that comes with that and the responsibility that we hold as decision makers on behalf of our community. So I encourage you to support the officer's recommendation in passing the local planning scheme too. Thank you. So Councillor Muir, did you wish to move an amendment?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I might actually speak to the recommendation. I think it has been a well thought out, well consulted process, and it really does seek to protect our unique biodiversity. Today we talked about a biodiversity strategy, and I felt like this scheme really attempts to ensure that our biodiversity can flourish, while also ensuring that our community can prosper too. So I'm really looking forward to that happening. And I think through the process, it also brought forward different issues and ensured that we were really addressing the needs of our community, particularly agriculture. I think it was important that people came forward and that we listened and that we have responded to those concerns. And I think we all feel that agriculture is particularly important to the identity and economy and community of our Shire. So I'm really glad to see that as part of the scheme. Perhaps I would like to put forward an amendment, Amendment 1. Yeah.
So if you can just read that, and then I'll find a
Sure.
seconder for that amendment. Thank you.
Okay. So the amendment reads, it's an addition to, it's addition 91, apply an additional use designation to numbers 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9 Ella Street, numbers 61, 49 and 51 Blackwood Avenue, and lot 59 Blackwood Avenue and 60 Selkirk Place, Augusta, and list the following additional uses in Schedule 1 of the scheme applicable to the same properties: tourist development, grouped dwellings. And the reason I would like to put forward this addition is in order to retain the development potential currently available under the existing town centre zone. I think we're all really familiar with the site and how important the Augusta Hotel and surrounding lots are as a potential for tourism, and I think we need to ensure that that is made available.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Muir. I'll now call for a seconder for that amendment. Councillor Boland, do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Boland?
I just reiterate what Councillor Muir was saying there, and I think this is also an example of us being thorough in our assessment of many things that came forward. This is modification number 91. That's an indication of how many modifications we've made, but they've been as a result of hearing from the community, and we've had some very considered submissions from the community. This one is just really a tidying up exercise that we don't wish to, well, it would be in order to retain the development potential that's currently available. So I think this is a very sensible amendment to make. We'll be dealing with others today, other modifications, and they may or may not be approved, but we have been up until the very last minute looking at what we can do to improve our scheme. And I think this just builds upon the excellent work that's been done by our administration dealing with this scheme, which is an extensive document, and then also on top of all that there's approximately 1,000 pages of submissions that have come to all the councillors, and we've had our time to wade through those and take on board what our community is saying. So this one is just another example of how we have taken on board things that we're hearing from our community, and fully support this amendment.
Great, thank you, Councillor Boland. Do I have a councillor to speak against this amendment? Or anyone else that wishes to speak for it? Councillor Binks.
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Shire President. I just wanted to mention a couple of words, and that is that the local planning strategy, used to be called the town planning scheme, I think is the community's document. So this is the community's vision and how and an approach by which we can have orderly planning for growth as we create the Shire that we're seeking to create. I would like to congratulate the owners of the Augusta Hotel on taking the time, firstly, to get stuck into this document, and then also bringing some proposals to us to capture some of the vision for the growth in Augusta. I just really appreciate the people who've taken the time to do that. So that's all I wanted to say, was to say thank you to them. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Binks. Okay, if there's no one else who wishes to speak for this amendment, we'll put it to the vote, councillors. Councillor Earl, did you wish to speak to that at all? No? Okay, we'll put it to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. Okay, now that will come part of the substantive motion. Are there any other amendments that councillors wish to propose? Councillor Daff? Yep.
Yeah, I would like to put up Amendment 5, which with the following amendment is just a modification to modification 42 to include the words structure plan, include Witchcliffe Eco Village in Schedule 7 in the site detail column, including the words due regard given to the approved structure plan under the heading additional site and development standards, and in the other column to make reference to the application structure plan in the scheme as requested by the submitter.
Okay, thank you. So that's to confirm, yep, that structure plan into, Schedule 7. Thank you. So do I have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Muir? Okay. Councillor Dath, do you wish to speak to that amendment?
Yep. As we heard from our deputation today, the Witchcliff Eco Village is a unique and significant development in our Shire with an improved structure plan, so I see no reason why it can't be included in Schedule 7 of the draft LPS 2.
Thank you, Councillor Death. Councillor Muir?
Yeah, thank you. I just reiterate Councillor Diath's comments. This is a key request from the submitter and certainly fits in with, I guess, what is required for the scheme and ensures that the unique dimensions of the eco-village are sustained.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment or for it? No, then we will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, that will also become part of the substantive motion. Councillors, are there any other amendments that you wish to move for the draft LPS 2? Councillor Binks?
Thank you, Shire President. I wish to move what is the third amendment on our list here. And that is that the following words be added with the following amendment in modification 13. There it is. The words as shown in underline be added and the words shown in strike through be omitted. And that is in the first column, R40 is removed and R60 is included. And then under the schedule of submissions, it's to read, to reflect current density applicable to mixed-use development in the town centre zone of local planning scheme number 1.
Councillor Binks, do I have so you've moved that, do I have a councillor to, we've got a question. I'll allow a question before this is seconded. Councillor Muir?
Thank you, Shire President. Just a question to planning. I just wanted to, just for reference, could you let me know what are the R codes for Townview Terrace in Margaret River?
The residential sections have a split code. It's R3040.
Okay, councillors, to get this one up for debate and voting, I'll need a seconder for this amendment. Do I have a seconder for this amendment? No. Okay, well that's not supported. Okay, councillors, are there any other amendments to the draft local planning scheme that you wish to propose for council's consideration?
Chair, can I make a comment, please? In relation
So,
to the grave site that's on that particular land, the old sea captain,
sorry, sir, are you speaking in regards to the site we just...
I just noticed it's going to high density codes. It's, look, everybody may be aware of that.
That now is become void, that amendment, so that's not up for council's consideration now, so... Yeah.
It's not a detriment. I see it as a plus.
Okay, well, thank you.
Probably advising the Augusta Historical Society.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we can have a discussion after the meeting about the significance. Yeah, okay. Thank you. We can't take motions from the floor, but thank you. Thanks. No, that's fine. That's okay. Thank you very much. Okay, councillors, is there any other amendments you wish to propose? I have an amendment. Sorry, I'm just going to get the right amendment 2. No, sorry, I don't think there are any other amendments that I wish to propose. Are there any other ones that council wishes to? No? Okay, if that is the case, we now go back to the substantive motion, which includes those couple of amendments. And I will ask for a councillor to speak against that motion. If there's no one to speak against that, I'll ask a councillor to speak for that recommendation? Councillor Daff, would you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, so I'd just like to say that the public consultation process resulted in over 90 modifications to the draft local planning scheme 2. And the Shire administration worked really hard to listen and change and make the changes they can to accommodate the concerns and suggestions made in this consultation period. They have to be commended for the work that they've done. This is, though, a piece of legislation, so process is extremely important. There were a few 11th hour requests to councillors to make significant changes to this draft. Some did have merits, but a lot do need to be addressed separately with proper public consultation and report to council on these requested changes. But it's important, as noted in the deputation by Dane Gaunt, that this shouldn't hold up the process while we do this process correctly. For example, within the Shire report, there are some outlines on the submissions during the consultation period. For example, the infill development. There is a commitment in the report for the Shire to investigate, consult and report back to council as a separate project to this scheme. Also with the motion that we put up earlier tonight about the bushfire controls. So I support where we've landed with it, and I would love to see the LPS 2 get through tonight and be endorsed by council, and then that we address these other issues in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Do I have another councillor who wishes to speak to this recommendation? Councillor Earl, you're okay? If you just unmute and then you should be right to go. There we go. Oh, so hold on, Councillor Earl, we can't quite hear you. If you just hold on a sec, we'll see if we can get some sound on our end. Don't you love tech? Huh? Try again. Sorry, try again, Councillor Earl. Sorry, Councillor Earl, we can't hear you. Just patience, everyone, while we try and rectify this annoying technical issue. Sorry, Councillor Earl's just trying to ring. Councillor Earl is happy to not speak, but yeah, he'll wait and he'll vote for this item when council votes for it. So, therefore, is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Okay, councillors, let's consider this. Let's put this. Let's actually, you know what? Will finally, even though we haven't had anyone speak against it, I do wish to commend the staff on this process and thank councillors for their input into this. And thank you, Councillor Dath, for raising those other issues. Of course, while we can't address every submission that is made to us, there is also other processes that can follow post this endorsement, and I think it's really important that council makes a decision and progresses with this draft local planning scheme in its current form. So I encourage you to do so, and we will put this to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Thank you, Councillor Earl. That's carried unanimously, 6-0. Right, councillors. That now is actually the only matter of business that we had to consider. So we'll now move to item 8, which is closure of the meeting. I thank you all, public and deputies, for your attendance today on this important item, and I will close the meeting at 3:50 p.m. Thank you very much.